and gentlemen, excuse me. Welcome back to another episode of the Universal Lens. I am dying right now, I think.
Are we live already?
Yeah, we're taping.
Look at this. All right.
Excuse me. I have a little frog in my throat. Welcome back to episode 64. Oh my God. In a couple minutes, we'll be joined by John Skomski.
John Skomski.
Yeah, I got to get that name right. I'm very bad at pronunciations. From Invest Inward, we'll be talking to him. It's a great podcast. I've listened to a bunch of his episodes, and he's got a new initiative called Go Calm Yourself, which is an anxiety initiative. So that was kind of my main thing to really want to get him on, because he's kind of been in the business world, but he's got this advocacy that he's doing.
Advocacy, yeah.
Yeah, that he's doing. We'll talk to him as soon as he signs on, and we'll go from there. So
I gotta tell you something.
What? I got a bashing headache right now too.
I like your style. Because go calm yourself. I use it for other
He
things.
actually made wristbands. Part of it, yeah. He just launched it. I think it's like a separate Instagram page that he has also.
That's cool.
We'll let him talk about it. But he's got like these wristbands, and it looks kind of cool. I read up on it a little bit, but I'm kind of curious to hear what he has to say about it and have him like give us the whole spiel about it.
You know, unrelated to John Skomski. Now this is our time.
That name's gonna trip me up. John, I'm gonna apologize now before you even get on. Your name's probably gonna trip me up only because I am bad with pronunciation.
Now that we're alone and he's not here.
Well, that'll be for another couple minutes.
I gotta tell you, man,
like 4 or 5 minutes.
I meant to tell you this off.
I might have to get up. So if you see me walk away, it's because I got to click him in because I don't have a producer.
It's either that or I'm boring you to death. But dude, I watch all our episodes.
Yeah, absolutely. So do I.
I gotta tell you something.
We're good looking.
You're aside from the obvious. Do I have to really state the obvious? You have like blossomed like a butterfly. Let me explain. So
I know if this is a compliment or an insult.
Our first liftoff. Obviously, both of us are
new at this.
Yeah. So
of course.
But man, you had like such like I plateaued. Like this is as good as it gets.
But for what? In what way?
All right. So in every way. Let me explain. Because I'm going to be specific here because this is this is not BS. So first of all, how you project. Your projection is different from the beginning to now. You project so much better.
Okay.
Like you have great projection. Like remember you used to say, I don't have a good voice. Like I'm telling you.
Somebody actually told me, the listeners go, you have a great radio voice. I said,
telling you.
And she seen my face. I said, is that an insult?
But this happened before my eyes. And I'm not paying attention to this because I'm paying attention to the content. It's
Thank
only
you. I appreciate it.
You're welcome, man. And it's only when I watch it back do I realize, first of all, because I auto critique myself, what a reject I am. Because let me explain. So I know that
I don't buy that at all. By the way,
I know that we're two sides of the same quarter, right? So
yes.
But John, I hate that I take the conversation left and right, and you bring me back. Pay attention. I
know what you're saying.
Yeah. I know you know what I'm saying. I'm a freaking madman.
But that's not. No, you're not a madman.
First of all, how you project. Second of all, how you stay on topic. It is. Let me tell you something. For anybody watching who
besides those times where I forget what I'm talking about.
Right. Okay. But fine. But like for anybody watching who sees what we do here, if you think this is, I'm not saying it's the most difficult thing in the world, but I'm saying there is a skill developing here that we don't even know.
We're not trying to. That's the problem. I mean, that's the beauty of it is we're not trying to develop it. I'm just want to see we're not trying to develop it. We're just kind of.
And I'm telling you,
jamming with it, man.
Like when I listen back and you and I start to veer, I start to come off the trail, and you nudge me back. I'm telling you, it's like I guess this would be like if you had a broadcaster, who is that's what he does for a living, and he has to rewatch his show, and he watches it to critique, or I guess like an actor in a movie or whatever.
Yeah, they self-did
right?
just to see what.
Right there, I should have looked away. Whatever it is,
whatever it might be. Yeah.
So I look at it with those eyes, and I'm like, there I am.
I know. I don't see that. I see what you're saying
because at the moment it's organic.
You're selling yourself way short.
No, very simple. I critique because I want to improve.
Absolutely.
I don't want to just keep taking us off to left field. although that's my nature. But dude, I'm just saying compliments, and I meant to
Thank
tell you
you.
before, but like
Appreciate it, man.
it is scary good because you didn't make like incremental step. Obviously, it was incremental because you don't go from 1 to 100, but you went from like 1 to 30 to 70 to like whoa, like you made big leaps.
Thank you.
So
I accept the compliment. Thank you very
yeah,
much.
man.
I mean, I think you're selling yourself way short.
No, I'm not saying that I'm a dunce, but
No, not at all. That's I mean, I hope that's not what
No.
you're trying to say, because I think this doesn't work without that.
No,
Like on the
thank
show, you
you.
know what I'm trying to say? Like it
I
doesn't.
hear you. Yeah.
If me yapping to myself, that's not what I want to do. I like having the person to bounce off of, because I feed off of the person next to me. Meaning, I hear you talk and it gets my mind going and coming up with an insight or an idea or something we want to talk about or a direction we're going to go in. And yes, I tend to always want to come back to I know what you're saying. I tend to be like, okay, but this is what we're talking about.
You're good at that.
Well, because that's what I'm completely focused on that.
And just think about it. It's like if you were like me, we would this show.
Watch, today I'm going to be an absolute mess now with John.
No, because if you were like me, I guess this is where yin and yang works, right? Because if you were like me, we would just we wouldn't know what to name every episode, not just that one. Literally, it wouldn't be an episode. You know what I mean?
The question mark.
Yeah, like
You
okay.
name it.
Oh, in this episode, we talked about 37 things.
Yeah, but I think in every episode we still kind of do touch on different things. I mean, it's always the same topic.
Yeah.
But we ebb and flow into different things. I mean, certain episodes we stay really on point. Other episodes we kind of pitter patter a little bit. But that's the beauty of it, right?
Yeah, there's an organic flow to the show.
I don't think he's.
No.
I can't see. Sorry, the screen's far away, so I'm looking to see if he's there. Well, that purple is just us when we're talking. It's just taping us. He's got the login, so he should be able to just log right in.
Yeah, when he does, he does.
Yeah, when he does, he does. If he doesn't, what the hell? I'm kidding.
No, like our flow is organic. We don't have a script we go off of. We don't have I mean, at best, sometimes we'll have some sort of topic in mind, and then we just go from there.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And that's kind of it's kind of the beauty of it.
And I know this right here, what we're doing is not exactly a planned episode because we're waiting for John. The episode is John's, actually.
Yeah, I mean, it's not. It's our weekly episode, but it didn't have. We don't have an agenda. I mean, we could easily start talking about something. Don't get me wrong. I mean, this is everything mindfulness and anxiety, and this is kind of what John is. That's why we're kind of having him on, is to kind of get that another podcaster, somebody who's been successful in life, has had trials and tribulations in his own life, has dealt with things in his own life, and how anxiety and watching his mind and how he's navigated through it. But he has a flavor, not just coming from a mental health world, but a flavor. He's a financial planner by trade, right? And he'll tell us that when he comes on. But he's a financial planner by trade, so somebody who kind of comes from that business world and has a mind that's kind of very business. I mean, I ran sort of kind of still am involved in my business, but I ran a business for over 25 years. You have run businesses. You're now in the world of real estate. So like we understand that. We totally get it. But we never really talked to anybody else who's coming from that same world and kind of been like, yeah, I'm not just a person who is a therapist, and they're great to have on, right? I love to have those people on because that's like, wow, you get all that great information. But hey, here's another everyday John, right?
Yeah.
Who does this for a living? Who works in the business world for a living, and he has a podcast about business, and he talks with authors and all sorts of entrepreneurs, and yet he has this, this attachment to the mental health world because of his experiences that that we're gonna try to poach out of him when he comes on.
And I know that in the beginning of our show, you notice how the show evolves, right? The show evolves. In the beginning, we were purely mindfulness, and then we realized, from mindfulness, you can stem a whole, consider mindfulness like a tree that gives you different type of fruit. So it's not a pear tree.
I like that.
So like mindfulness is a tree that you'll get an apple, a pear, a peach, cherries, all in the same tree.
Yeah.
If that comes off,
True that.
right? If that comes off, because you can use mindfulness and applied correctly in your business, you have everything we've been talking about for the last, let's say, month or two, where we talk about manifesting. And you can manifest something outside of business, right? Because you can, manifest something in the sports world or whatever it is, a personal, dating, whatever it is. I am like John, I'm like you. I'm involved in business, and very much so, my attention is on my business. And
Oh yeah, and rightfully so. I mean,
but how my mind is framed really is going to affect my business, because my natural state, or let's just say,
this makes you better at what you do.
correct. So like what I believe is my natural state.
Absolutely
Because
makes you better
I don't
at
want to
what you
say
do.
my natural state, because then I'm like self-identifying. No. What I believe is my natural state is that I used to be like very and I think this is normal with everybody, right? If it's gray and gloomy and rainy, I don't let that affect me now. Like I completely reframe that. Like I completely reframe that, and for me, a gray, gloomy day is a great day. And today, you put that up today. Today's a great day. You put a short up today.
I was in the parking lot waiting for my buddy to come to the gym. I'm like, I've never done one of these, just like impromptu reels, just like me saying something. I was like, you know what? Have a great day. And if your mind's telling you that today's not a great day, who says you got to listen to your mind? Have a great day anyway. And when I say that, I don't mean you have to have the absolute great day. The point I'm trying to make is, don't let your mind dictate the circumstances of your day. Your mind's gonna have its own. Your mind will have its own agenda, but you get to choose how you actually want your life to go. Practically, I mean, obviously, there's circumstances outside of our control that we understand that, but you still get to frame, and that's what maybe that's what you were getting to, right? How you get to frame how you look at it. So yes, everybody enjoys a sunny day. It's freezing outside, but it's sunny today. If you ask me, would you enjoy a sunny day over a cloudy day? Of course, I'd enjoy a sunny day over a cloudy day. But the cloudy day is not gonna. I think is what you're trying to say. It's not gonna make me change my perspective of how I want that day to go. I would enjoy it if it was sunny, but I'm still gonna do this, do what take care of my tasks that I wanted to, accomplish what I wanted to for that day, do the things I wanted to, live my life the way I want to that day, in spite of the gray skies.
Because I love this topic. I'm gonna let you.
You think we've done it 64 times?
Do you want to text him or something?
I did text him. I said, any issues logging in, I'm waiting.
I'm gonna read this quote.
Yeah, we have a few minutes. Whatever. He doesn't have to come on directly too. Whenever he wants to pop in, he'll pop in, John.
I'm gonna read this quote. Right now, I go through flavors, right? My flavor right now is Napoleon Hill.
I think I sent you something from him, didn't I? Yeah, a couple days ago. Something popped up in my feed. That's weird, right?
So Napoleon Hill, if you know, inspired Bob Proctor.
Yes, that's the book you said he carries, right?
Correct. Bob Proctor used to carry a book called Think and Grow Rich.
He passed away, Bob.
That was Napoleon Hill's famous book, Think and Grow Rich.
Yes, I've heard of it. Yeah.
However, to be noted about Napoleon Hill also wrote many other books that stemmed from what he learned in the process of writing Think and Grow Rich. So after he wrote that, he went on the tour. Like he went on speaking, and he did many speaking engagements. And he was, maybe I'm drawn to this type of speech, but he's a very 1940s. Hello, hey, how you doing? I'm Napoleon Hill. That old style.
Kind of sounds like Bob Proctor a little bit.
That's exactly right. So wait a minute. So I mentioned Napoleon Hill because he influenced Bob Proctor. But this quote that I got, that I'm going to say, is I got it from Bob Proctor, but he's quoting somebody else. Okay. He's quoting a guy called Robert Heinlein. It's insignificant.
Yeah, no, but the name doesn't ring.
Basically, he is an not astrophysicist, but he was an astro something. All right, so he's a smart guy. What my son wants to be, aeronautical engineer. There you go. He was an aeronautical engineer who wrote science fiction or fiction writing.
Okay.
And he wrote, in absence of clearly defined goals. This is for all you business people. Please pay attention, because I'm telling you, when you are in business for yourself, it's a roller coaster. Every day is a roller coaster. And if you're not in business for yourself, see, this is me going off of the tangent. If you're not in business for yourself, still think of it how it applies to you within where you're working and how you can improve your situation within where you're working. He goes, in absence of clearly defined goals, we become strangely loyal to performing daily trivia until ultimately we become enslaved by it. So what does that mean? You must take a moment and clearly define your goals so that every day.
Sounds like Joe Dispenza.
Yes. Yeah.
Everything.
We're
Right.
all like.
We're all in the same pool.
Yeah.
We're just in different sides.
That's it.
I'm in this end, you're
Right.
in that. We're all in the same pool.
Even though I'm in the 8th foot and you're in the 4th foot, it doesn't matter. In the same water.
All in the same pool. Everybody's in the same pool.
So
just don't realize it.
So think about what he said. He goes, we become enslaved to daily trivia. So you know what that means? Facebook. That means
social media stuff, media in general.
And you've heard me talk about it before.
How it grabs you.
I need a chocolate milk. I think I'm hungry. You're fake hungry.
I pay attention to that so much now.
Because we are pay attentioners.
Is that a word?
We are pay attentioners.
You're pay attentioners. We just Webster Dictionary, put that word in, put Henry Belcher underneath it.
I mean, I coined, we don't speak mind.
We don't speak mind.
And we are pay attention.
We are pay attentioners. There was another one.
It's a year. It's 2024.
Yeah, there was another word that we made way back, and I remember what it was. But go ahead. What were you?
No.
So but pay attention. Yeah. With the chocolate milk. Yeah.
You could totally see how a mind like mine would be captive to daily trivia, unnecessary trivia.
I wouldn't say a mind like yours. I would say a mind like everybody's. Yeah. Your mind. This is not to make you feel bad.
Yeah.
Your mind's not special.
It's not. Yeah, it's like everybody else. Yeah.
Your mind's not special.
Right.
Your mind is special, but it's not special in a odd way. Everybody's mind will say something to them and pull their attention one place or pull their attention somewhere else. It's just what it's gonna do. That's what it's. If that's what it was built to do, I don't know. That's what it's evolved to do, right? And that's where people don't understand that that's what the mind does. It just pulls your attention. And if you experience anxiety, or like what we're going to talk about, what we're talking about today, is it's, it pulls you to that direction. If you're analytical thinker, it's going to pull you to that. Like whatever your mind's flavor is, that's where it's going to want to go, because that's the neurons are wired together, fired together, right? So Joe Dispenza. And you'll hear us use, it probably could be confusing. And if it is, I apologize to our listening audience.
Don't mean to.
How we jump around from Bob Proctor to Joe Dispenza to Napoleon Hill to Eckhart Tolle to Sadhguru.
And I'm about to mention another two.
Hold on. To Tony Robbins, right? But we do that for a reason, because you have the people who love Tony Robbins. Nothing against Tony Robbins.
Right, no.
Good for him.
Not at all.
I wish him not. I think he's a great motivational speaker. He's got a good message.
Absolutely.
I don't know much more about the gentleman than that. Or Eckhart Tolle or any of these people, right? We could talk about any of them. They're all speaking about the same thing. They're just using different words. And the words we created, language that we created, more and more I see as people, as we talk, as I hear, like I listen to just different people speaking about it, or even myself just becoming, what'd you say before? What was the word you said? We become
enslaved.
No. When we're watching, we became the word.
We're observers. We're people watchers. We're people.
No, you can't even remember the word you created.
Yeah.
Son of a bitch. Sorry, but anyway,
we will play this back,
and we will hear it, and we will know.
We're pay attentioners.
We're pay attentioners, right? So we're pay. I pay attention so much now, and not even like in a curious manner. Just my awareness is just so, wow, like hear that, without judgment. Hear it, and I'm noticing these patterns all of a sudden, like how people say the same thing just using different words, and I'm like, okay, well, language is changing, and now I'm hearing more and more from certain, more prominent people as they speak, that they're starting to say how important this language is now, right? Like when I was in therapy years ago, like it was introduced to me, watch the language you use. Okay. Remember we had the episodes about good and bad, happy and joy, and all that stuff. It's in my book, actually. All that stuff. It's language. It frames us how we want it, right? But it never really caught on that much, I don't think. Like even me, somebody who's like acceptance commitment therapy, I did that talk last week, right? And at NJOCD, which went great. So thank you to the people at NJOCD for having me out there, where I got to share my story. And even there, I'm hearing like people's what they're speaking about, what they're talking about. All the panel members, not just myself. There was 6 of us, 7 of us who told our story, and I'm not hearing that from anybody. And I'm not hearing how important language is. Like, it's mentioned, but it's not highlighted yet. Even I don't even in the therapy world, it's mentioned, I think, but it's not really like really important. But now Dr. Stephen Hayes is really I forgot what the form of therapy is. It's reflective language something. It's like RL something something. I'll get the acronyms for it. And he's now saying how, ACT is great, but look at this now. We're doing more research on the words we use and how it's actually framing and creating the life. Like they're starting again. It's like they're starting to angle now the scientists into the manifestation mode. Really, like, again, what Eastern spiritual teachers have been saying for years with 3 words. Our minds, because they're so highly evolved, we can't understand simplicity anymore. We need complex to make us understand. So we can't understand 1 + 1 is 2. Blah, 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 blah. How do you get that? Oh, well, you have 1 apple, and then we add another apple, and then we have 2 apples. Now I understand. So our minds need, you break this down for me. You can't tell me awareness, mindfulness, you can manifest your future by accepting and surrendering to the present moment and then saying, this is what I want in life. Wow, what the fuck does that mean? Right? I get it because maybe my mind works like that, or the work I've done, with all the spiritual teachers, but a lot of people don't get it. But now, like I feel from what I'm kind of hearing and seeing in the world and all the different people we talk to, how language is becoming more and more important. And the common theme starts to become, look at the words you're using that are framing how you live your life every day, right? Acceptance is around that, but now language is in the middle of it, right? I can accept, but I still got to pay attention to what I'm actually, the caca that comes out of my mouth every day.
Yeah, because so this is a very thick topic. This is a very, and by the way, one that I think I absolutely love, like to the point of obsession. So I've always been obsessed with language, words, right? I've always been very skilled in, like, in my SAT. All right, so I'm gonna pull my pants down right here. I only got a 1060 on my SAT combined, right? That was my score. So whether you think that's
smarter than me,
whether you think that's good or bad is beside the point. What I want to tell you is that my 1060 came from an almost 700 in the English side. So that's how bad I am at math.
Me too. But mine was all language.
But I speak many languages, and I speak.
You speak brain?
Well, I don't speak that. I don't think anybody does. And I speak dialects. So like I'll go around picking up dialects, like like I know a little bit of Sicilian, right? I know a little bit of
well, if you know Italian, you know Sicilian.
Well, but but what I'm saying is
Sicilian's just
I love language
dialect.
To the point of a nerd. So
which is great. I wish I had your language skills.
So this topic,
multilingual skills. Actually.
That topic you just mentioned
about language,
watching our words, so that if we curate our vocabulary correctly, you have no idea how that affects your subconscious, because this is what it is. We're wiring our subconscious unconsciously. We are. So if we're able to modify our language, we will help our subconscious move towards the goal that we want it to move towards, or react in the way that we want it to react.
Mm-hmm.
Be beneficial for us, not anti-beneficial for us.
Yeah. And this isn't I don't want to make this sound like this is a formula for you do it once and that's how it works and you're going to get everything you want in the world and life is going to be hunky-dory and okay, well, I'm going to it's a way to frame your life. There's still going to be crap that you have to deal with, but it's a way to frame the crap either too, right? You could have a crappy situation and still frame it and accept it and surrender to it and be able to live your life in spite of it while all experiencing whatever actually is happening. So yeah, no, I'm a big proponent of language.
I mean, you just said that you're hearing the panel talk and nobody's really focusing on the language, meaning
or even acceptance that much.
At least grazed by it. You know what I mean? Nobody even grazes by it, right?
One person mentioned acceptance besides me. Like I specifically mentioned acceptance commitment therapy when I was talking, and exposure response prevention, ERP. The ERP everybody kind of speaks about because that's an
You
actual.
kind of go through that. Right?
That's like they consider it the gold standard. It's an acclimation. You get acclimated to
Sure.
something, right? They make you get, okay, you do it enough times, the fear goes away, right? Because your mind says, hey, this isn't dangerous, this isn't dangerous,
Right.
this isn't dangerous. That's great. But all your mind does is replace that with something else. So unless you have the acceptance part, now you have to want to acclimate to something else and acclimate to something else. And you're constantly acclimating, but you're never really accepting. So even acceptance, I didn't hear a ton about. And maybe because
Interesting.
it's not the easiest thing to teach, and it's not the easiest thing to break down. And I think Dr. Stephen Hayes did a great job. Dr. Russ Havers does a great job in the happiness trap and breaking down acceptance commitment therapy. But acceptance isn't spoken about enough. And when I start, my website's almost built. Actually, I'm going to show you the rough draft of it when we go upstairs.
Nice.
When I start, my biggest thing is going to be based around acceptance and helping the person find their conscious voice. Their conscious voice means that voice that speaks in your benefit that you hear but you don't listen to because you listen to all the other garbage on top of it.
Wow. Yeah.
And so it's filtering through the voices in our head, but finding the one that's so you hear it every day. You're having a shitty day and you beat yourself up, but then there's that little voice that says, just go. You can do it. Right? And it's enough to get you going through it, but you don't give that voice enough credence. You don't hear it enough that it's got other things to say. But because we focus on the negative.
Interesting.
We focus on the negative. We focus on the negative.
That's a great angle.
We focus on the negative, right? So, but a lot of that is because the language we use frames us to focus on a certain way to live, a focus on a certain way to be, focus on a certain way to look at life, focus on all that stuff. Hold on, John. Guess Universal podcast. I must have put it in wrong. I don't know what that means.
I'll show you how to put it in.
Yeah, you want to just keep talking for a second?
I love this topic.
Yeah, well, I just look at this real quick, this text.
So what I'm gathering from what you're saying, if I'm not mistaken, the way I looked at what you experienced at that conference.
Oh wait, I'm sorry. He had it at 2:30, not 2:00. He must have put it in wrong on his calendar, so he's gonna hop on in a second.
Yeah, no problem.
All right. Yeah,
we're having fun.
Yeah.
The way that I see it at that conference is the following. That conference was psychiatrically based.
It was. It was all psychiatrically based, that conference.
Okay.
Absolutely.
So the topic of awareness or mindfulness is only going to come up or come in if your therapist introduces it into your therapy.
Yeah, and not every therapist does. Not every some do, and those are the ones I like to if I have to recommend one, I'm like, you don't understand how that's really the foundation.
Yeah.
Everything else is the sprinkles. Like, I could teach you 1,000 different clinical things to do, but if you're not truly accepting for me is empowering. Acceptance is empowering. It's not a negative thing. And we've talked about this. Like, when you accept, you actually gain more control than anything else. But you got to be willing to deal. You got to be willing to sit with shit with acceptance.
So because you introduced me to mindfulness, right? And I guess just awareness, acceptance.
Yeah, I mean.
So because you introduced me to it, and now I am a student of it and let's say, practitioner, I realize how it affects your entire life, not just, hey, I walked in here with OCD, please help me with OCD. Well, okay, John, what we do for OCD is we do A, B, C, X, Y, Z, but also we do mindfulness. Okay, you can take this mindfulness and apply it to your entire existence, and
it's a multi-use tool, multi-purpose tool,
right? And so, what happened with me? So I'm looking for success in business. This goes hand in hand. So I discover people like Bob Proctor. I discover people like Dispenza, whatever. Even though Dispenza didn't really come up from a business angle, but he does, because he wants you to manifest your future. He wants you to manifest, I listen to guys like Brian Tracy and Jim Rohn. These are classic business.
Jim Rohn.
Rohn.
R-O-H. It's like Jim Rohn's a sports guy. And he did that.
Like, these are classic guys. Even Bob Proctor, they were paid to speak to corporations because they get you going.
Yeah.
When they talk to you, you feel
which
like
isn't is I think is a talent. It's like a natural. It's not easy to get in front of that many people and be able to capture them right away.
so
right?
when they talk to you,
Yeah.
you leave there saying, "I can absolutely do this.
Yeah.
Fuck this. Today it changes." So you leave the room feeling that way. However, what I want to tie it back to, because I'm trying to stay on track. No more will I get off track. John, I can't tell you how many of these guys, and I don't know if it is Tracy or Roan. Just I'll put it this way: even Bob Proctor, they all, and including Robbins, they all mention mindfulness. All of them directly. And so like but they make it a component of the whole
Yes.
thing.
So they mention it, but it never feels like it's the main ingredient.
It's not the main.
right?
No, it's like saying, "Hey, look, this cake is going to take 7 ingredients. One of them is mindfulness."
See, for me, so I guess that's true because depending on what you're looking to do, there are other ingredients besides just the mindfulness, right? But I always think it's that ingredient that without it, like I can make a cake and maybe leave that out and leave that out. But if I leave the flour out, there's no fucking cake.
Yeah, it's flat.
For me, the mindfulness is the main ingredient. Now, I think John.
He's on.
Hey, you hear us, John?
I'm here.
Hey,
I can.
Well, we can't handle this handsomeness. You can't have 3 handsome guys. What are you talking about?
What's up, buddy? How are you?
Good. My guys, I'm so sorry. So sorry. 2:30 was what was the reality in my head, and 2:00 was the reality in the real world. So there we go. Here I am.
No, John, no worries. We enjoy talking to ourselves, so we were fine just yapping for a while. So we're just happy that you were able to get on. So, John, I'm gonna try this. Skomski.
Nailed it.
All right, I'm very bad at pronunciation. That's why. So John Skomski from Invest Inward. I found this podcast early on when we were doing ours. It just happened to I don't know, it showed up on my feed one day and I hit it. I listened to the episode. I was like, wow, this is really cool. Then we kind of commented on some of our stuff, and I just started listening to more and more of his stuff and great business insights. I'll let John introduce himself, but it's a pleasure. It was a pleasure for me to listen to his episodes. Financial planner, intelligent guy. He's got entrepreneur, handsome, everything else.
That's it, man.
So, John,
you
go ahead, tell us a little about yourself and kind of how you got to where you are today.
Yeah. Well, I got to where I am today, not by getting late to meetings. So we'll start there. I mean, just putting it out there.
Yeah,
so
absolutely.
So yeah, I'm a host of the podcast Think, Live, Repeat, and launched that in 2022.
Yes.
That stemmed out of a very painful struggle with panic and anxiety that all started in 2020 when my wife came close to could have lost her life.
Wow.
And that tied into, at that point, again, financial planner, business, all tied into the markets. At that very same time, she was going through her health struggles. My business was becoming unglued as markets were free falling. Nobody knew what the heck COVID was.
Yeah, remember that.
And it all ended within a week of the point where my wife had her first, medical emergency. Within 7 days, I myself was at the hospital thinking I was dying of a heart attack, had no idea, thought it was convinced that this was the end. And they're like, yeah, you know what? You're okay. Your heart is completely fine. It's probably a panic attack. And I just remember thinking, there's no way it could possibly be a panic attack because I actually feel like I'm dying. So there's no way. And then it was like, this was like the slow realization, right? It was like, that's why they call it a panic attack, because you think you're freaking gonna die.
Exactly.
Yeah. So that was how this all came to be. Is spent another 18 months after that working through therapy, coaching, reading, self-improvement, my faith, all these different things, and finally was at the point where I wanted to share my message, and ultimately wanted to speak. And my thought was, well, I'm not going to just show up and be like, hey, hire me, I'm a speaker. Let's create a proof of concept, namely a podcast that shows that I have the ability to string some words together, intelligently, and know a few cool people. And it's kind of how I started. I didn't have a huge roadmap for success. And it just took off from there. I've made some incredible strategic connections, people that I would have never met otherwise, conversations that were completely life changing. And now finally at the point where I'm actually doing the thing that I started out to do, which is speaking. And then, of course, continuing to run my financial planning practice, which I've been doing for a better part of a decade now. So, yeah, and of course, the good looks, like you said, but I can't take much,
that helps.
you know,
That doesn't hurt.
other than the hair, I can't take much credit for that. So there you go.
Oh, wow. Listen, so that's a
hell of a story.
That's a hell of a story. Yeah, I think we all remember 2020 well. So I could imagine, the anxieties that were going
Or
around.
better yet, I think we all remember our first panic attack, right?
I think we all remember. I mean, this is
what was your first? First.
How was your first?
Yeah, right. It sucked. Panic attack. Yeah, panic attack. Got it. Okay.
Yeah,
we've all been there.
We've all been there. Yeah, then they're not fun, and they're not fun for a reason. But so listen, it definitely sounds like what you've been through kind of got you. So this is going to sound weird, but like what you went through really not only changed the trajectory of your life, but I think it sounds like it put you on a better path, right? So going through that shit kind of put you on a better path to do different things in life, right? So even though we don't like to accept that this crappy shit happens to us sometimes, sometimes you're like, well, okay, but it happened. But like you did, I think you made the absolute best of learning from the crap that you went through.
Yeah,
you know?
I mean, the guy's at the doctor, or like literally, according to you, you had a heart attack.
Yeah.
Like according to you, you're dying of a heart attack, but in reality, physically, it's crazy. There's nothing wrong with you. It was all stemming from what we were doing to ourselves.
Yeah. And you took that and you ran with it, and you created a podcast, and now you're actually. And I saw this a couple of weeks ago, which is Go Calm Yourself, and I see the T-shirt. Good plug, man. Smart man. There he goes. He's a businessman for a reason, right?
We have a stupid sign.
Yeah. I mean, the sign's kind of good too. So
no, it was made. That sign was actually made for me by my nephew. So that's why.
Get out! I love it.
So it's not like this huge, beautiful, but it was like for me, it was like sentimental. It's cool. I put it up there. So Go Calm Yourself. What this is, and by the way, I did say Invest Inward before, which is the name of his business. Think, Live, Repeat is the podcast. So as soon as he said that, my voice in my head said, dumbass, you got it backwards. So sorry about that. Yes, Think, Live, Repeat is the name of this podcast. But so Go Calm Yourself. Like, where did that come from? What is it about?
Well, so it's, you raise a good point, and I got to be honest. There's some level of confusion as I've developed, because I'm building this as I go. Like, I want to be very, very clear. As I sat in the hospital with my first panic attack, I didn't know I'd be sitting here today. And frankly, I'll probably be 3 years down the road from now and think, you idiot. Like, you only knew half the picture. But you make the best of what you got at the time. So Invest Inward, and I'll just give you the brief history on Invest Inward. Invest Inward was like, okay, and that's the joy of being a financial planner and registered rep and all this stuff, is everything that even remotely has to do with stocks, securities, anything financial related has to be first previewed, reviewed, approved through compliance, all of that. It's a whole rigmarole.
Yep.
Right. So if you have an outside business activity that does not talk about your securities business, it's its own entity. It lives outside of that realm, and you have a lot more flexibility to talk about things as long as it's not securities related. Yeah. So Invest Inward was like, well, I'm a financial guy. So I want to give a nod to that, but I also want to be completely focused on personal development and mental health and all of that. And Invest Inward. Our greatest asset is ourselves. We spend all this time focusing on our money, and then, we're bankrupt internally. So that's where that came from. Now, Think, Live, Repeat was, I just wanted a cool podcast name, and that's, I agonized over that for months. I have notebooks of like all these names that I workshop to try to get here. And then Go Calm Yourself was the most recent thing. And I'm still working to see where this goes, but I love it because it was simply this. People as you would try to express what you were going through, and this was true, especially like 2020, 2021, the hardest part for me. And you're trying to explain panic and anxiety to someone who has not experienced it firsthand. They just don't get it. And candidly, pre my attack of many attacks, I didn't get it either. right? So like I have some level of sympathy for that because I didn't get it either. That being said, there are people who are just oblivious. They don't have a lot of self-awareness. They don't have a lot of empathy. And so it's kind of like, can you just, calm down? And they suggest things that were so,
Yeah, I know where
painfully
you.
obvious. You just, oh, why don't you take a walk? Why don't you just calm
Calm
down? Like,
down.
and you just be like,
Have a glass of water.
why don't you go yourself? Like, it was
Yeah,
literally
yeah.
like what you wanted to say. And so go calm yourself was really just it was the embodiment of my frustration with people saying stupid things that were not helpful. And instead of telling them to go F themselves, it was just a play on words. And my thought was, and I know this to be true because other people with panic and anxiety have told me this, like, yeah, other people say dumb stuff too. So it's like, can we come up with some kind of a community or a brand or just something that highlights that people should really try to stop saying stupid things, have a little more self-awareness, have a little more empathy, try to educate yourself a little bit on what, well, they say a third of adults go through, much higher for college age students and younger people. Can we have a little more understanding and couth, if it were,
Yeah.
before you just go in and try to solve the world's problems because you told them to calm down or take a walk or do some breathing or whatever.
There was, and that's great because there was a reel you posted about a week ago, where you said, I'm going to try to get this right. Somebody said, you said, like, when you get food poisoning, stop throwing up. Like, you made a,
Yeah.
and I thought that was hysterical. It's like somebody tells you, I'm having an anxiety attack, just calm down. He's like, all right, when you have food poisoning, stop throwing up.
Right.
So
Yeah, exactly.
Is it just, if it was that easy, we will do it. Thank
Right.
you. Right? Yeah. No.
Yeah.
Look. So.
I mean, I get it. A lot of these people are people in their lives that care for us, and they mean well, and
Oh yeah.
But
you
but I love what he's trying to do by bringing so
Absolutely.
by just go calm yourself. You're bringing attention to something that I preach and I talk about all the time, which is language. Like, the words we use with certain things just don't make sense. And like, and obviously, when you tell somebody stop having a panic attack, go calm down, calm down, or just stop it, go take a walk. They don't help. They actually do more harm than good. So like,
Oh yeah.
you bringing attention to it with this, even with a little bit of satire to it, is kind of great. It's like,
Yeah.
so OCD. I mean, my flavor was anxiety and obsessive compulsive disorder. I was lucky to get both. One of the ones for OCD is on an adjective. So, like with obsessive compulsive disorder, if you're neat, they go, oh, you're so OCD. Where obsessive compulsive disorder is the complete opposite. It's gut wrenching. It's panic all the time, anxiety at level 20. So a therapist in New York, I think, is the one who came up with this, and it caught on. Like, OCD's on adjective, T-shirt, blah blah, all over the place. And when I still go calm yourself, I'm like, son of a bitch. I go, that's the anxiety version of what they did there. I'm like, that's brilliant. I loved it. I loved it.
Well, we'll see where it goes, and the whole food poisoning thing was intentional because I've since learned that, the part of your brain, the amygdala, that controls the fight or flight response, right? And then you got cortisol and you got adrenaline. And so that you can literally be sitting on the edge of your bed, but your body thinks you're going toe to toe with a 6-foot grizzly bear, like literally, physically. And just like, you're hugging the porcelain, because you had bad beef at Arby's or something, like there's physical things going on there. It's that same concept. So it's not that even calming down, like, yes, that's true. And yes, it's well-intentioned most of the time, but it's just misunderstanding of the physical, biological, chemical attributes of panic, anxiety, of OCD and other things. And it just, I don't know, it just kind of struck. So I'm always really clear. I try to put the disclaimer out. I'm not a therapist. I don't know. I am self-taught. This is my own journey. You might find it to be helpful. You might find it to be unhelpful. Like, it's just, I'm like, enough people go through this. Like, I gotta make purpose out of my pain. I have to find a reason for what I went through. So if I can just throw some stuff out there and people resonate, great. And if they don't, well, go calm yourself.
Well, listen, as an advocate for it, I think that's the admirable thing to do, right? You've walked the path.
Yeah.
You've learned some things on that path. You're sharing what you learned. You're sharing your tips, your tricks, or whatever you've experienced, and putting yourself out there to hopefully have somebody, like you said, right? Somebody's going to hear it and be like, oh shit, that happened to me. And maybe they'll listen to a little bit more of what you're saying and kind of get into what you're saying. So that's great. And before, what you said, like with your cortisol levels, Yeah, there's no spigot in our body that we could just like when our body's in a full blown, whether it's food poisoning or whatever we're in, like we could think all we want to and close it. Yeah, no, at that point it's gotta run until it's done, and then it'll balance itself out again.
But an observation, because I think John is in the same boat that we are. So we go through these things, and there's no handbook. There's no handbook, just like there's no handbook on anything. But we want to share it, and we want to make sure that other people catch on and basically learn from our mistakes and kind of learn together. And because there's two different types of people. There's a person that it happens to, and you live through it, you survive it, and you're off. And tomorrow you're doing your thing. But then there's people that it happens to us, and we say, "Whoa, guys, everybody, we're all the same. Like, don't screw with me right now. Don't look at me like I'm a freak. We're all freaks. We all have issues. We all have these things, and we get behind the mic, and we weekly, daily. I don't know, John. I don't know if you're daily or weekly, but we're weekly. We profess
weekly,
we profess. We're out there pushing, in our case, mindfulness, pushing, awareness. So I guess, and I guess that's, is that our calling? I don't know, but this feels right. This feels like something we should be doing.
I think it's just something you're passionate about, like John's,
right?
Like he's a financial planner. His businesses, finances, and economics, but this is something he cares about.
Of course,
right? Like the go calm yourself, I don't think is, and maybe it will be, and hopefully, and I'll be a big proponent of it to become something bigger that can, bring income in. But like he makes money doing other things. Right. He does these things because it's something that he cares about and he's passionate about it. Yeah. And he wants to get that word out, which I think is great. I think is great.
We want the next hot stock tip.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah.
That's really why we got you on.
Yeah. If compliance is listening, that hot stock tip doesn't exist. Yeah. But no, 100%. Like I am cash flow negative on everything I've done in terms of the podcast and speaking and Go Calm Yourself, this event.
Welcome to the club
that I did recently. like I have embraced the fact that I do this because I care. Number one.
That's right.
Amen.
Number two, though, I do believe that there is opportunities out there. So, and I'm lucky enough to have a business that allows me to pay the bills so that I can do stuff like this with it gives me the chance of playing the long game, right? So if this doesn't get monetized for another 3 years or 5 years or 1 year, whatever, like I'm not gonna, my family's not gonna be eaten out of the garbage.
Yeah.
Whatever. So yeah, I want to see it get big and I want to monetize and all that. But if it doesn't happen, that doesn't mean like I shut things. You know what I mean? Like there's just that ability to play a little bit of a long game, which is I'm lucky. I'm lucky. That's
no. Listen, and you've done well in your business, and you could do this. And look, that's the same thing for us. Like this isn't.
Yeah.
This is.
No. Yeah.
God damn, it's cash flow negative for sure. I mean, we don't make money. We don't make money on this show at all. It's just an expense, but we do it because we care. And for us, for me and Henry, I know that outweighs any financial. Money that I invest into this or websites or whatever else stuff I do, it doesn't it's for me. I get more out of spending that money than I do out of and it's going to sound weird, out of making money in my daily business. Like I just get more passion out of this. So I get that. I do have a question for you, Bob. How the hell do you get so many guests lined up? Like I go through your guest list, I'm like, where? How does he find these people? Like, it's amazing.
One is his Uncle Joe. The other one.
If it was that, I'd be like, all right, no, but it's not. Like, how do
Uncle Joe, Aunt Barb. Yeah.
How do you line these people up?
So I get that question asked a lot, and I take that. I honestly, it does it. The reason that question is asked makes me feel good because it means I've had some cool guests on. It's validating to me. And that's a way of currency, right? Like that to me, like, yes, I haven't been paid a cent on this, but there's other forms of currency out there.
Agreed.
So I'll answer two ways. Number one, I'm a pain in the ass. So being a financial advisor, I have learned to get comfortable with making asks that most likely will be rebuffed and maybe rebuffed multiple times. So just out of the gate. Number two, networking. So I know I have somebody on and then somebody else knows that person and name drop. So I got incredibly lucky. Derek Kinney, Wall Street Journal bestselling author, since become a great friend of mine, an incredible person, was a financial advisor for 20 years. He was my first guest. I couldn't freaking believe it. Like he had been interviewing people like Matthew McConaughey and Damon the Shark, Damon John and Mel Robbins and all these people, and I got him on my first, and that was just a crazy thing. But I reached out to him. I called him on the phone. He answered, gave me some advice. I'm like, hey man, I'm starting a podcast. I would be so honored. I'm like, there's no way he's going to do this. And he's like, okay. I was like, holy crap. And then he was good friends with Bob Berg, author of The Go-Giver, whatever. So then I reached out to Bob and I said, Bob, I just had Derek on. Derek's awesome. And he's spoken really highly of you, Bob. Would you do 30 minutes? And Bob, being the generous guy he is, yeah, sure. Okay. And that's kind of how it was, where one kind of led to the other. And look, you see who I have gotten. You don't see who I haven't gotten. Like my inbox is littered with people who I haven't heard back from, or I've been getting a runaround and whatever. But all that to be said, like, yeah, I've been blessed with some pretty cool guests. And, I just try to look at what one guest, if one guest I have on, who do they know? And how can I leverage that? Again, not in a manipulative way, but just in a straightforward way. How do I, and people love talking about themselves.
Yeah.
So even successful people who have bigger platforms, it's like, hey, talk about yourself for 30 minutes. Oh, okay. You twisted my arm. Like there's definitely that aspect as well.
Yeah. I could definitely see the successful people being like, you want me to tell my story? Sure. No problem. But that's true. So I think that's a great way to look at it. What is it? Wayne Gretzky said you make zero, or I forget who it was. You make 0% of the shots you don't take.
Right.
So, like you said, my inbox is littered with people who say no. Right. And I've had that too, where I've reached out to a bunch of people on Instagram and other people who are in this kind of world of mindfulness and acceptance and things that we kind of speak about.
Like my real estate CRM.
Like
reach out to a bunch.
You gotta just keep reaching out and put yourself out there, and that's not easy to do, right? A lot of people don't like that rejection. Can't deal with that rejection. So to constantly do that and get the wins and not pay attention to the losses, is why you have every week. I'm like, I've never seen this guy talk about, I've never seen him talking to himself. I've never seen him, he's always a cool person on the other side, whether they're a singer, author, entrepreneur of some sort. Yeah. I mean, it's always somebody who's like, has a cool story too. It's not even like, this is my grandmother, like somebody boring. It's always somebody cool. I'm like, I've always wondered, how the hell does this guy do this? So I'm like, if I ever get him on, I'm going to ask him, how do you do it? And
he leveraged his talent.
Leveraged that one, but that, you know what? I actually should try that.
He leveraged his talent.
I actually should try that.
Think about it. He's got to talk to a bunch of people.
Yeah.
To get business. Listen, and then that. Okay, I'll get you on as a guest.
It's funny because I ran a construction business for 25 years, almost 30 years, right? And I get that part of it, but for some reason in this world, because of kind of what we speak about, I never looked at it that way. Like I never applied that mentality to try to get those people on. I was always kind of like, I think a little too accepting of it. I think I got to be more like him.
Yeah.
I got to be more like John.
And I'm looking in the mirror.
Oh, there we go. Yeah. Well, it doesn't always work. I don't know how we doing on time. You guys want a story? You want a failure story?
Yeah, sure. No, we're good. Yeah.
I'll hit you with the failure story. So it doesn't always work out. And this is where I'm living. Like, this is John, like real time, even with Go Calm Yourself, like right to the present time. So I did a showcase. I think I even told you this offline. I did a showcase with an organization that does college booking, right? Like they bring in speakers, entertainers, musicians, comedians for this college circuit. Cool. And so to me, in my mind, I was like, oh, this is a shoo-in. Like, I paid the money for the booth. I paid the membership fee. I paid all the materials. Dude, I have 1,400 freaking bracelets. Go Calm Yourself bracelets. I created a challenge. I got the t-shirts. I got the books. I got the 6-foot poster of me that's way too large. Like, I got the whole damn thing. Right? So I show up there. I've got thousands of dollars into this, months of work. I built my own website, like all this stuff. I'm like, how am I not going to at least get booked a few times? I at least break even. It's going to be amazing. I go there. There's speakers, there's all kinds of things. And the way it's set up is you do your showcase. It's 10 minutes. Yeah. That's what your payment gets you. And then you do like an ed session, which is like a workshop, smaller room in the venue, maybe 20 people. And then there's three opportunities for them to book you, right? Where they put your name up on a screen. for like 10 seconds. And literally you get like a card, all the school representatives all across the country. They had people from army bases, lots of people there. And they bid like, oh yeah, we want to book this person, this act, this whatever.
Wow.
So I sat through not one, not two, but 3 of those events, those booking sessions. And I didn't get a damn thing. Not one booking. I didn't get an interest. I didn't get a request. I didn't get anything, right?
Yeah.
And here's the best part of this all is my talk tied in the concept of failure. Because for me, the way it worked was I had the anxiety and panic, and then failure or fear of failure set in, and the two played off of each other, failure, anxiety, and they kind of like, and then build. So I'm up there giving this talk about not failing, but reframing failure to learn from. Perfect. And as I'm doing that, by the end of the weekend, I have, by accounts of metrics of money and time and effort and all that, completely freaking failed. Which made it even more. No, it's okay to laugh because it pissed me off more because I didn't want to take the advice that I was giving people. Because in the moment, it sucked so bad. I was like, screw this. This is so stupid.
True.
So, for whatever, if someone out here needs to hear, like, all the effort, like, yeah, I've got some great guests. You don't see the inbox of the ones I haven't gotten. Like, yeah, I've got some speaking engagements, but you didn't see me driving home from Pennsylvania at 2 a.m. because I was too pissed off to stay the final night and literally just drove home. It's like, I'm done. Forget this. Because it didn't work out. And I am learning real time how to reframe failure and not allow that to then create the avenue for anxiety and panic to come back in and hold me back from things. But you just got to try. And if it doesn't work out, it doesn't work out. So there you go. There's a real story. Hopefully someone in the audience will resonate with that.
But that's so true. That is. Like taking our own advice. Like, so even for a guy like me, like I preach this stuff there and, all the time about acceptance and mindfulness and the language we use and reframing and finding your conscious voice. I mean, that's really deep mindfulness stuff, but that's kind of what we talk about. And there's times where I'm like in my own head and I'll say to myself, jackass, take your own advice that you talk about every freaking day. It's like, this is what you preach and you're sitting here beating your head against the wall, but we're human, right? So it's going to get the best part of us, but you keep doing it, right? You get up, you do it again, you get up, you rinse and repeat, you do it again, and you keep going because it's something that you care about. Well, it was a funny story. I hope that the next one you do get 3, 4, 5, a bunch of people.
Hey, yeah, that'd be nice.
You're definitely an entertaining guy to listen to. You're well spoken. I would pay to listen to you talk. Because I looked at your website, Invest Inward, and I saw you do talks and I've always had an issue with public speaking personally, and I'm just getting into that realm now. Like last week, I had to speak at a OCD conference in New Jersey. I was asked to by a therapist who I'd worked with in the past, and she's like, "You'd be a great fit." And I had all this anxiety going into it. I'm like, I hope I don't sound like an idiot. Hope I don't sound like I'm making a fool of myself. But I'm like, I want to do it. Whether I sound great or I don't sound great, whether it goes flawlessly or it doesn't, I'm like, I want to do it because if I do it, I'm gonna prove to myself that I can do it despite whatever the stories in my head are. And I'm kind of looking forward to now. All right, now I started reaching out to other people. Hey, if you have anybody who wants to share their story, I have everything I've experienced, blah blah blah. I'd be more than willing to talk about it. Now I'm noticing I want to put myself out there more. Not to say people are knocking down my door on day one, but to what you were saying, it doesn't matter, right? It's just, you care about it enough, you just keep doing it, man. You keep doing it. Yeah.
Just remember you're human along the way, though.
Yeah.
Because you will get pissed.
That's the human factor, which is what was great about that story because he's like,
I was
very
human.
Talking about it. You were talking about this, all these people. He goes, and I'm done. I'm like, I'm going home.
Is it? Yeah.
I'm done.
No, it was a very human moment, man.
Man,
it's part of it. But honestly, those are the podcasts that I listen to. That's the kind of story I want to hear somebody say. I want to hear Ed Milet. I want to hear Mel Robbins. I want to hear Brennan Bouchard or John Acuff or fill in the blank. That's what I want to hear him say. I want to heir him tell me a story about the time they shot the bed.
Yeah, man.
Just completely just crapped out. Because then that gives me hope. Because if they, you know what I mean? So I don't know.
No, that's true. That's definitely something that you don't. Social media and the world in general, I think, everything's a rosy picture. people don't want to show the shit that they went through to get where they got to go to. And I think that people that go like, yeah, I sucked at this for a long time. I keep sucking at this until I get good at it. Like I'm with you. I love hearing those stories. Like I love to have a therapist that goes, yeah, I had anxiety just like you. And I know what it felt like. And I was not, instead of somebody who's like, just understanding. That's great that you understand, but how about you like show your side of it also? It's real. For me, it just feels real. Like when somebody's like, yeah, I like the story you just told. Nobody, zero, not one. I went home, and I didn't take my own advice. I'm like, okay, it's real. Like I can listen to a guy like that because there's no BS there. It's pure, right? So I love that.
Well, you need to know that.
Yeah.
You need to know that because
I love that message.
One day he'll be untouchable, and then you'll be
I'll be like, I know him.
I do like that narrative. We'll see if that happens. But by the way, I do have a box. If you want postcards with my face on it, with a little cell phone, I have about 400 of those right now. I've got probably 1,000 or so wristbands that are left.
Is it a website?
Freakishly.
You have a website for Go Calm Yourself, or is it?
It lives at Invest Inward right now, just because that's kind of the overall thing. But no, I'm sure I'll find a good use for them. Right now, I literally wanted to dump them out the car window on the way home. Just be like, that very abandoned part of Pennsylvania where like literally nobody's there at 3 a.m. You're just driving, and I was like, I should just chuck them. Be like, but they all have my name, my phone number, my email. Be like,
you never know who might pick it up.
Just threw all this stuff out there. Like, what's his problem? Gee, wonder who's littering, but. It's all part of the journey.
You never know who pick him up. Well, it depends what part.
Yeah, right.
I agree.
Planner picks it up.
Yeah. All right, man. So I mean, that's all really I got for now. Because we're gonna wrap it up in a few minutes. But John, thank you for coming on. It was a pleasure finally meeting you. I know we've liked and kind of. Had comments on our posts going back and forth. So it's nice to finally actually see you face to face and talk to you. Hopefully there'll be more of this in the future for us. But man, listen, I wish you the best of luck with all you do, man. I'll be supporting you. I'll keep an eye out, and I'll push your stuff along because I love the message. So if I get behind something, I definitely push it on my platforms and kind of get it out to people I know too. So. If you ever sell those wristbands, let me know. If you put them on a link somewhere, I'll buy them because I'm like a sucker for that. I'm a sucker for that crap too. I'm a sucker for that.
Tell you what, guys. So let's text offline. I'm going to send you both the set. Just for the opportunity to be on the podcast. Makes me feel good.
Man.
Thank you for your graciousness and dealing with the scheduling complex and that. And let's do this. So we'll do this offline, but we're gonna get you on Think Live Repeat. If we can get you both on Think Live Repeat, that'd be cool.
Sure.
And do like and because what I want to do, what I'm dying to know is I want to hear your story. You're 25 years in in the construction business, and with real estate, Henry, and all that. So. We're going to do that. Let's set it up offline. Let's say 2.0. We'll just continue the conversation. We'll dig into your guys' past. And thank you so much. This has been a blast.
Yep. You got it, my man. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right. Talk to you soon, John. Peace.
Be well, man.
Bye.
All right.
That was great.
Yeah, so that was John from Think Live Repeat. I got it. And I said Invest Inward, man. This is where you say things to me, I'm so smooth on this and that. When it comes to that shit, my mind goes.
No, but like even this interview.
I love him. He's such this is what I like about him when I listen to his podcast. His voice, his manner, he's an easy listen too, John. Like he's an easy listen,
natural,
and he's genuine. Like when you can hear somebody's fake, like and I'm not pointing at any podcast out there, but
polished voice.
Yeah, like it's like something like he's real. Like when I hear him, he's real. Even his posts, his reels. Sometimes have nothing to do with his podcast, just something funny he sees. It just anyway.
He mentioned
easy guys listen to. So if anybody out there is in the business world and wants to know about or just hear people's great stories, Think Live Repeat, guys, look him up. You won't be disappointed, man. John's a great listen.
Yeah, I was listening to one of his interviews, and I turned around, so I have it audio. So obviously I have it on video, but I turned around, so I'm listening, and I swear to you. He mentioned his first one was he says that he'd be on Ed Milet. And I thought he was talking to Ed Milet. And I was like, no freaking way. This guy went on Ed Milet. And then I go back and I look at the screen. I go, it's not Ed Milet. It's some other guy. And don't get me wrong. Maybe the other guy is like a big thing in his own world. I mean, whatever. But Ed Milet, I don't know if you know. You know Ed Milet? Anyway, he spawned from... As a group of guys, and they were all successful. Not one of these investors, bro. I'm skipping. I'm not remembering right now where he came from, but he came from somewhere, another group of investors.
Mm-hmm.
And Ed Milet is a very rich, well-to-do guy, but he has a podcast and he interviews a lot of very important guys. Like all his guests are like crazy good. Like I think he's had Dr. Joe on. I think he's had a whole host of like
Yeah, he gets more of these A-lister people.
And I could tell that Ed Milet, through the years of broadcasting, and he's also broadcasting from Sirius XM, they developed this broadcaster voice, right? And so you develop this plastic shiny voice and this cadence that comes about. And so I'm like listening to that. I'm like, whoa, is that Ed Milet? But it wasn't. It was somebody else. But I'm like, well, you mentioned John speaks naturally.
Yeah.
Right? And there is no fake effect or
No, he's real. John's real, and which is our MO also. Like that's us. We are real when we speak. There's no, God knows when you hear me, especially like you could tell where I'm from, and it's not Arkansas. So
I was gonna say you're Indian.
Yeah, sure. right away. So I mean, which is what I love about it. I love about it too. So anyway, thanks to John for coming on. So that was a lot of fun. That was definitely a lot of fun.
You were great.
That was good, man. Yeah, that was good. That was fun. It was fun, and it's fun to hear those stories about, and we could apply it to the things we live in life, right? Like how a person who preaches, he's talking to people about how to deal with failure in the business world, right? Or in investing or whatever his topic was that day. And yet it doesn't work out for him that day. And how he succumbed temporarily to that human emotion also and realized, right? And was like, this is what I'm telling these people about and it's bothering me. And that comes full circle. You can't stop it from bothering you.
He made me.
You're human to have that emotion. Now the question is, do you make a conscious choice to follow it, or do you make a conscious choice to take a different road?
Yeah,
right.
I think he has a moment.
No, it's everybody. I'm not talking about John's. I'm talking about just in general, and that's where we go a step further. Right? That's where our world is a little bit different. Where we go a step further, we start talking about, okay, well, now that you're noticing it, like I've said it on my show, on this show. Well, I mean, so what happened to me earlier, towards the end of last year, beginning of this year, I kind of had the rug pulled out of me all of a sudden. And it took me a hot minute to be like, what? I went and I went down the rabbit hole looking for Alice, the carrots, the rabbits, and everything. Until somebody was like, where you going? I'm like, holy shit, where am I going? And I kind of, then just kind of hopped out and I was like, all right, yeah, I fell into that rabbit hole. But that's part of being human. So if that does happen to you, like it happened to John, like it happens to me, like it'll happen to you,
right.
Or if it happens to you out there, whoever you are, it's okay.
Yeah,
you're human. The key is having the awareness to realize it happened to you, understand that it happened to you, and keep that awareness there. So next time, either you don't get taken down that rabbit hole or your journey is very short. And that's the goal. The goal is not to not be grabbed by the mind, because the mind is going to try to grab as often as it can, is to realize when the mind is grabbing you and take it off. So a little bit of, before we sign off, just kind of based on what we were talking about.
And I heard this from Napoleon Hill, tying it in. A setback is just that. It's a setback. But if your mind interprets it as a failure, then you've accepted it as, oh, I failed. And is that what really happened? Or was it just a setback that you need to just address and keep going? Because life is filled with curveballs, setbacks, new data, negative things, right? Right before the show started, I got a curveball. That wasn't supposed to happen.
Yeah, 2 minutes for the show, he's filling out forms.
Right.
Like,
so I had to jump to it. Why? Because if I don't tend to my customers the way that I top-notch service, well then, there goes your career slowly. Or you'll get mediocre pay. How about that?
Yeah, I agree.
So it happens. But if you don't reframe it to yourself as a failure, which it's not.
Nah, and that's the key. It's not a failure. It's only a failure if you believe it's a failure or you frame it as a failure.
That's right.
It's a learning experience.
In the moment,
all it is.
In the moment,
it's a learning experience.
Right. In the moment, John had his fit. Right. Son of a bitch.
Sure.
Right.
Rightfully so.
But then on the way home, he probably talked to himself and realized, well, hey, reframe. He said it, not me.
Yeah, he said it, which is great. Like even in that, like in his world, he used, which is big in the business world, but he reframed it to be like,
You know what
Doesn't
this
make
is?
it. It was a learning experience. It was an experience.
And I had to go through it to understand what it is that I'm doing.
And you might have to, whoever it is might have to go through. We might have to go through it. Many of those experiences, like we're not going to get success. I post something. I recently rebranded myself. I know we're going long now. We won't do the meditation. We'll just cut it short. I rebranded myself. So if anybody's been following me since day one, it was OCD gave me life to accept this moment, to the universal lens.
Yeah.
Now it's John F. Familiar.
I was gonna say it.
And the reason why it's John F. Familiar now is because I'm finally catching on to how this branding shit works. But anyway, so I kept changing my name until I kind of figured out like what it's going to be. Not that OCD gave me life was a failure. Not that Accept This Moment was a failure. I just kept learning from each one until I realized, okay, I think this is where I want to be. And I don't know where this goes, but it's not a failure if I keep learning and if I just keep moving forward towards what I want to do. It's a learning experience. And the most successful, and I know this is out of our genre of what we usually talk about, but you wouldn't realize that we really are two businessmen who live in a beautiful, mindful world anyway. It's not about the failure. The most successful people in the world that I know, that I've either spoken to personally or people in my life or A-listers, very important people, all say the same thing. They have failed way more than they have succeeded in life. And that could be in anything, right? What we call setbacks. But it's not, we use the word failure. So I don't even say they failed in life. They had tons of learning experiences to get to where they've gotten to in life. If you look at it as a failure, and if you're one of those people that believe the language and the words, it's a failure, and now you believe everything that the word failure comes with, and now you sit the word failure on top of your head and you believe it, and you believe the stories your mind's telling you, that you suck and you're the worst, what fighting chance do you have at all, anything in life? Instead, it's like, okay, this happened. We move forward. This happened. Yes, it happened. This incident happened, whether it was for John or for you or for me. And now we say, okay, I learned what I can learn. I accepted it happened. And I take my next step forward because that's where I want to shift my energy to. That's where I want to focus my life on. And that's it.
And that's how you get to the point of success.
Yes.
And then when you get to success, the only thing people want to talk about is your success. But what they don't know and what you don't talk about is all the setbacks you had and that reframing you had to constantly do to get there.
To hear.
Right? But that's not what the people hear.
And he said that, right? I think he mentioned that, where people don't tell their shit. They only they don't talk about their failure stories. They only talk about their successes. Mm-hmm. And I like to hear that, hey, we're the same. I have failed just as much as you. And I think those people are real because they're willing to show everybody, like, and I think that's what we do so well on the show. And this isn't like, you know what, whatever. If it sounds like it is, it sounds like it is, but it's not us beating our chest. But one thing we do well is we tell you, no matter what we say on this show, we're still human and we learn constantly and we shift and we learn. Yeah. Even for everything I post it because I've learned it. You know how I learned it? By experiencing it. You want to call it a failure? Call it a failure. I call it a learning experience. I learned when my mind did this.
Scrapes on the knees.
Yeah, I learned when my mind did that, right? Scrapes on the knees. And unless I get the scrapes on the knees, I can't. So people are like, wow, John, where do you come up with this stuff? Insights, but where do the insights come from?
Scrapes on the knees.
Going through things in life. And we're open about it. Like these are the things we've gone through in life. Some people find it uncomfortable to hear. I can't help that. But there's a lot of people who it relates to. So I had a friend today, and I'll tell you offline who it is, who you would never imagine. We were texting earlier. This is another time. I actually looked up and I kind of had a question for the universe. Not a question, but more of a confirmation. I'm like, this is it, right? Like this is what I'm meant to do, right? Not even like am I? I was like, this is like that's more of an affirmation to it, right? And then I get it, I'm on the treadmill, and a friend, I'll tell you who it is, you would never have thought this person, texted me. And we were texting back and forth. And this person sent me a picture of something that they saw in church that the pastor said. My pastor said this. I'm like, it all relates, blah, blah, blah. I'm like, see how the two worlds. And the person made a comment like they wanted reassurance that like the things that we say in their church is the same. They're just coming from different places.
That's crazy.
And I said that. And this person said to me, he goes, you have no idea how much you have helped me in the past and how much you helped me today. He goes, I've never said it, but how much you have. And I was like,
that's
so
amazing,
right? But like you wouldn't know that if you weren't like if we weren't the kind of people that were real and to show that look what we've gone through. Like, I think that resonates with everybody else. So it was
That's
great.
amazing.
It was great to hear that from this person, but it's the reason why we do this. And it's the reason why we're so honest with what we do, because we're all in this boat together.
That's
And the
great.
boat, this is going to sound horrible, I'm so sorry, is headed for a waterfall, just like everybody else's boat. All our boats are headed for waterfalls. There's no ifs, ands, or buts about it. No. Eckhart Tolle said it best. He goes, we're all on the train, and I'm going to tell you now, he goes, you don't get off before the train crashes. And everybody started laughing in the audience.
Enjoy the waterfall.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, he was sitting there, and Eckhart Tolle goes, and he goes, we're all on the train together. He goes, and before you get off, he goes, and he starts laughing. He goes, the train will crash. And everybody in the audience, because it's like, the train crashes for everybody.
Yeah.
It will be a crash at the end.
There comes a day.
That's it. So we're all on the same boat, and we're all headed for a waterfall. We're all,
So enjoy it.
Enjoy it,
Enjoy
man.
the ride.
Enjoy it as best
I'll
you can.
see you there.
Yeah. Man. All right. Anyway, so we've gone. I can't see because my computer's farther away because we had to see John on screen today. I'm not even going to look at what that number is. I'm sure it's over, but we'll let everybody off the hook today.
Pleasure.
Do your meditation when we're done. I'm going to do it in a few minutes upstairs and meditate today. But everybody have a great day. John, thank you for coming out and being on our show. We'll definitely text you. We'd love to be on Think Live Repeat.
Absolutely.
Have the Cuban and the Italian from Brooklyn and Union City. I'm smart. Like everybody says on the show. So that's it.
All right,
so today was a great episode. I don't know what we'll name it. We'll figure that out. Everybody have a great week. We'll talk to you guys soon. Follow, love, like, and all that great stuff. All right?
Yes. Please. You know what to do.
I got to get up and hit the button. So. The insights and discussions that we speak about on our show are our own opinions and based on our life experiences. If you or someone in your family or someone you know is suffering and in need of help, please get them that help through medical attention or seeking proper therapy. Again, what we speak about are based on our experiences and not intended to be taken as a form of therapy. Thank you.